The other day I saw a question from someone who felt like a failure, someone who said that he felt looked down upon or undermined just because he was attending a community college right after high school as opposed to a big name 4-year university like his friends. Now, I wanted to make this video not only to address that question, but also to show you the similarities and differences when you go to a community college and a 4-year university. Personally, when I went through my engineering journey, the first 2 years were at a community college, at a local community college, and the last two and a half years were at a 4-year university, Virginia Tech. So let's go over the differences and similarities between these two academic institutions and how you should not feel like a failure if you go to a community college. All right, so first things first, the first thing to look at is the education itself, the type of professors, the class sizes, and how these two things are similar, and how, in my opinion, sometimes a community college is even better. And the reason why I think sometimes it's better is because a lot of the times you deal with much smaller classes. If you go to a 4-year university, you're going to be dealing with auditoriums full of people for certain classes, as opposed to a community college. The class sizes are going to be smaller. Like I feel like 40-50 people. It's like it's a push when you go to a community college, at least in my experience. Also, when you look at the professors and the quality of the professors per se. A lot of the times is the number of credentials that you need to teach at a 4-year university. When you go to a 4-year school, you're going to have professors that have PhDs at least, and that have a certain number of years in an industry or in a certain subject that they're teaching. Now, if you compare that to a community college, you are going to have people with at least a master's degree, which is just required for a college level education for teachers, professors, and just a certain number of they're still going to have experience in the subject that they're teaching, So, but also, like, I want to key in on the fact that a lot of times, what I've noticed, sometimes professors that teach at 4-year universities have a part-time job, and their part-time job actually is teaching at community colleges. Now, if, for example, here nearby, George Mason University, which is a pretty big school, it's around in the Northern Virginia area, which is where I'm from, and some of the professors from there had part-time jobs at Northern Virginia Community College, which is where I went to, and they just basically, and you receive the same education, a lot of times you receive the same book, the same classes, it's like the same structure of the syllabus. Also, the difficulty of the classes and the quality of the classes, of course, the professor is going to have something to do with how the class is taught, and that just doesn't matter whether you have a PhD or a master's. I feel like if you're a good teacher, you're a good teacher, because they're just professors who sometimes just read the slides, But the fact of the matter is, when I was at a community college over the summer, we would get students from 4-year universities who would come to the community college thinking that some classes would be easier, especially for engineering. So they would come and they would think that some of the classes would be easy, and over the course of the summer they realized that the classes were just as hard there as they were at their 4-year universities. So that was a big shock for them, and I was thinking, oh, okay, well, that actually made me feel a lot better, because I thought that at that time, I wasn't getting a quality education at a community college, but in reality, it's that the classes and the requirements to get a certain degree are going to be the same whether you take it at a community college or at a 4-year university. You're still going to have to learn math, you're going to have to learn calculus, you're going to have to learn for engineers, like mechanical engineers at least, like dynamics, statics, deformable bodies. So like all these core things that you need to know, they're going to be taught anywhere in 4-year college or a community college regardless. And I'm assuming it's going to be the same for any other major out there. So now let's talk about the degree itself. Of course, the degrees are very, very different. When you get out from a community college, the highest degree that you can get is a associate's degree, and a lot of like all the technical certifications. But from a 4-year university, you're gonna get a bachelor's degree, and that's why I think it's key to, if you are thinking of being an engineer or an architect or a business person, whatever it is. I think it's really key to know what your goal is. If you are trying to graduate with a bachelor's degree, then make sure that you get that associate's degree from a community college and then transfer to a 4-year university, which brings me to my next point, which is Sometimes you can even cheat your way into a big name 4-year university, and I'm gonna be a little careful when I say this, because, and when I say cheat, it's because sometimes, you know, when you're right out of high school, you need a lot more. You have to meet a lot more stringent requirements. Like you have to have a lot of community service. You need to have like the highest grades out there, and so we have like all these different things that make the application process and eligibility for, or not eligibility, but acceptance from 4-year universities a lot more complex and a lot harder than when you graduate from a community college. And I'm saying this because when you are at a community college, a lot of 4-year universities have an agreement and arrangement with 2-year colleges in state. Sometimes it works out of state, but in my experience, it's all in state. So if you get your associate's degree, then you are guaranteed to have admission to many 4-year universities. Let me know in the comments below what you think of that, and we'll jump on to the next subject, the next comparison. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is resources. Obviously, when you go to college, you're going to need computers, you're going to need libraries, bookstores, like all these things, right? And this is all stuff that you find in a community college. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be as massive, it's not going to be as fancy, but you're still gonna have computer rooms, you're still gonna have tutors, cafeterias, you're gonna have libraries, bookstores, you're gonna have sports teams, you're gonna have groups like salsa group, you're gonna have dancing groups, you're gonna have gymnastics groups. So you have like all these like different athletic bodies, and of course, like I said, it's not gonna be as developed, and it's not gonna be D1 like Division 1 football or Division 1 basketball, but it's still gonna be there's gonna be some entertainment. It's my point. Those are a lot of resources that you can find at a community college as well. And now, of course, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, which is going to be tuition and savings. Of course, when it comes to tuition, the tuition for a community college is probably half. It's about half of what it is at a regular university, and in many cases less than half. And the reason why that happens is because it's basically a stripped down education center. You're not gonna have, like I mentioned, like the big football teams or the big basketball teams or the big athletic bodies and all these like different sororities and fraternities. All of that is just all stripped down, and they focus mainly on just the education itself in community college. So that's basically the video. To answer the question at the end, with all this, with everything that I've said, you definitely should not be like a failure. In fact, I've had many people that I've talked to, and they say how they wish they would have gone to a 2-year university, because that way they could have saved a lot of money. In my case, I probably saved between $10,000 to $20,000. Now, the bottom line is, so what's the main takeaway? So if you are someone that is just looking to get an education, and just you are going to college because you truly just want to get that degree, and just like you want to take your career path, you want to get going with the career path, whether you want to be an engineer, a lawyer, a doctor, I highly suggest that you go to a community college if that's what you want to do, and save money. Like, you don't want to get into like a lot of debt. Definitely community college is the way to go. However, if you are someone that is just that is not only trying to get the education, but also get the full college experience and meet people from the first year of school, and like attend big football games, like just from the beginning, you know, from the time you're a freshman, then, and most importantly, you have the cash to afford it. Like, I'm not talking about going to a school and then getting into huge debt just because you want the college lifestyle. You know, so if you have the cash and you want to have the full college experience, then most likely a 4-year university is going to be good for you. It's going to be a good fit for you. So that's my opinion, my experience, and what I wanted to share with you guys. Yeah, don't feel like a failure for not going to a big name university for your first 2 years. At the end of the day, you're still going to graduate with a bachelor's degree just like anybody else. And when you go out there, or when you go to grad school, when you continue with your education, if that's your path, you are not, no one is going to look at whether you spent the first 2 years at a community college or at a 4-year university. They're just going to look at your bachelor's degree and then move forward from there. All right, so that's the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good week, and I'll see you. Peace.